Just keeps looping on. Yep, it's just looping. It's showing that short video we did. Okay, I'm just gonna go fix this because I'm sure people are hearing me on YouTube right now. Yeah, see, I'm live on YouTube for whatever reason. Yep. No. All right, sorry about that, guys. Hopefully, this is working now. We've been trying to do something through a new service called Rumble. It says it's live, but for you watching on YouTube, I think you guys are fine. I still think people watching on waltonsinc.com/live are just seeing the looped video. So give me a quick, nope, there it is. It's live now. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I set things up, but I forgot to flip one thing live. But we should hopefully be good now. Let's see. I'm going to check chat to make sure everyone can hear me, see me, all that. Okay, cool. So we're good. All right. Thanks for holding with us there. Hopefully that'll be smoother in the beginning. I tried to set things up, and that's usually a bad idea. It's usually best if somebody else does these things. It was one click away. Oh, well. So we're going to do a couple of things today. Trying to refocus the Meatgistics weekly live streams into almost what Austin used to do with the Meatgistics episodes. So what we're going to do is have a weekly meat hack. We're going to have a featured product. We're going to have a coupon, some sort of recipe. And for this one, we're going to announce the winner of April's Meatgistics Meat Hack competition. It's a post where we asked you guys to share your best meat hacks on vacuum sealing. And then we just chose what we thought was the best one. Oddly enough, we chose two this time. And I went through and created a badge that says Meat Hack Monthly Winner. So you'll be able to, we will award that to you, and you'll be able to display that. So anytime you post next to it, it will show that badge saying Meatgistics Monthly Award Winner. There is also going to be a physical prize. We will go ahead and reach out to the people who won that and let them know. Don't yet know what it is. I mean, it's not going to be a grinder or stuffer or something huge like that, but I'll try to make it something that that person will find some use out of, enjoy, and hopefully be able to use it to make more meat products, come up with different hacks. The last couple of days, I've been able to spend a lot more time on Meatgistics, but it really has become your guys' website. You guys help each other out far more than I jump in there and help somebody out. It's still nice for me to be able to go through and be part of the community, check some answers. But without you guys helping each other out as much as you do, the site wouldn't be anywhere near as useful as we hope it is, at least. So I have one more time I'm going to say we should be going live with the new waltonsinc.com. I know we've said that so many times, but we should be going live on the 18th. If Austin is watching this, he's probably screaming at me not to announce it. But that would mean that next Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what time of the day the update happens, Austin and I will be up here for however many hours it takes until we know that things are working as they're supposed to. We're definitely going to rely on some of you guys to try to find little problems for us. I mean, we've combed through, we've looked for all sorts of issues, but there are going to be things that end users see that we're just not going to be able to see. You can't have, all different combinations of products in your cart, but hopefully we'll just be up here answering questions and accepting adoration, because we really don't want there to be any problems. So we should be good on that. Okay, cool. So everything is now working. Cool. All right, so for the meat hack, we are going to go over the speed difference between grinding frozen meat and refrigerator meat. So I've got two 5-pound batches. We're going to grind through a 3/8 plate, a breaker plate on both of them. We'll time that. And I figure that's going to be a little bit of difference, but it shouldn't be significant. The holes on this are so large that grabbing full pieces of meat and pushing it down to it, that's not really going to be a problem. But on that second grind, I think it's going to be a fairly significant time difference. So I've got my phone. I'm going to time it, but obviously anyone who wants to time at home is more than welcome to. I'm going to do the regular fridge meat first. Let me grab that. No. I already grabbed that. Obviously, plates and knives have been well oiled. So if you want, this might not be a bad time to mute. If Patrick was still in here, I'd have him mute me, but you're going to have to mute or turn off your volume. I almost started without the stopwatch. Come on. Are you kidding me? No. Decline. Oh, timer. There we go. Okay. Oh, while I'm talking?
Yeah,
while it's going? Well, then come in here.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to be able to hear it on my phone.
Oh. So just mute them when I'm doing this then. Mute me when I'm doing this. All right, so that was...
No, it sounds fine.
Oh, so you're saying don't worry about it?
You might be able to talk during it.
Okay. So that took 46 seconds for 5 pounds of refrigerator meat. It was after the grind, that meat is 36 degrees. Okay. And before the grind, this going down to 30. We're going to call it 29 degrees. Okay. So that was 30 seconds. So 6 seconds different there. That's nothing. But this second one, this meat is still really nice and cold, has good texture to it still. So when we switch this out to the smaller plate and knife, or sorry, smaller plate, knife remains the same. I think that's where we're going to see a fairly dramatic difference. Always oil your plate and your knife before doing anything. It's one of those knives. And earlier today, I did a test for somebody who was wondering about using a Toledo-style plate with our 22 grinder. So a Toledo-style plate, instead of having that notch that you're used to seeing at the bottom to lock in, it has one side of it kind of ground flat. So it's supposed to hook up to a grinder that has that matching position. So that it'll have one whole side of it that's flat. But with the little knob at the bottom of that, that half plate will catch on that. I ground some pork fat on it earlier today, and it did fine. All right. Reset. And here we go. I put too much down there at once. It's funny, I'm always telling people not to do that. So occasionally, it will actually bubble above the chamber where the meat hits the auger. It'll get caught up there and won't fall down. The auger will come through and keep hitting the bottom of it and pushing it up higher. That's when you do need your stomper for grinding on the second grind. Get down there. So now I'm letting it clear that chamber, and I'm gonna take a little piece, just about that much, put it down the chamber. Now I'm waiting for it to clear until I can see just the auger, and then add just a little bit more. Oddly enough, the slower you put the meat down, the faster the grinder will go on the second grind. And you can feel it because this meat is frozen enough where it still has some grip to it, something for the auger to actually grab on. When we go to do that, it's gonna struggle a little bit with it as the meat's already warm, it's already loose, the fat is starting to warm up, it's gonna wanna push back over the auger. One of my more spectacular failures at all the tests we do is I thought that if we took a bunch of this and squeezed it down and almost made like a meatball out of it, that would give the auger more to grab on. That does not work. It made it far worse. If anyone at home is wondering why I grab some of the product that's already been ground and put it back through at the end, that's so that everything will be ground the proper number of times. That little bit at the end there, it's not going to get ground a third time. All right, so we had 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and that was on the super cold product. Now on this one, I'm gonna do it where right from the beginning, I'm not gonna put too much down. So it might gain a little bit of time out of that, but it's still, reset. It's still gonna be significantly longer. I'm betting at least. Although I've been wrong before on these. Austin told me a long time ago, don't do live demonstrations because something always goes wrong. And this is the Walton's number 22 grinder. This is the one I use all the time. I like it because there are some Specco plates and knives. Although I don't know what was wrong with that other knife. It wouldn't fit on here. That's a knife I think we've had in the commercial kitchen, the test kitchen for a while. But this will use Specco plates and knives. The other size models won't yet. We're trying to get that changed. But I love this thing. It's a workhorse. I've put purely frozen meat down it, and it's done a great job the entire time. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it is getting harder again to get nitrile gloves. So unless I'm making a lot of something, I'm trying to do everything without wearing gloves and wasting them. It does come through with a really nice grind though. We have really good separation, or not separation, particle definition. It's not smearing. When you're grinding, if you don't see clear parts of pink and clear parts of white, you're getting smear on your fat. That can be from a number of things. Most common is a dull plate and knife. It gets pushed down there at the end and it just smears. Another thing that can cause it is if you put too much in the neck at once and you start pushing it down, that's going to create more pressure than what it can deal with. And that looks like it's coming out really nice right now. I haven't looked at the watch yet, but I have a feeling I'm about to be disappointed. Three minutes and 36 seconds. So I guess Austin's right. Don't do live demonstrations. That is literally, I believe, the exact same time as when we put the frozen product through it. Now, I will say this. On the one I was doing the frozen, I got a backup in here badly because I was putting too much down too quickly. But that's just hilarious. If it was, they were both, this was 336 for sure, and I think that's what the other one was. Yeah, ridiculous. Let me wash my hands, and I'll be right back. Well, at least you know it wasn't rigged. I would have rigged it a lot better than that had I rigged it. Ooh. Now, hopefully there's a bunch of funny comments laughing at me for being an idiot. Sometimes I think that's the reason Austin gave me this job, is because I'm fun to make fun of. Anthony Aguirre is asking what type of oil this is. This is white oil. It is a mineral oil that does a really good job not getting gummed up. Now, when you use a lot of this, if you overly oil your plates and knives, you will see some, what looks like a gray sludge, come out through the center pin, your stud pin. That's nothing to worry about. This is food contact safe. You could cook with that oil, though I wouldn't recommend it. So, Gary, there's two ways to do it. Best way to do it is to cut it up and then freeze it. But where's that? This Victorinox serrated blade will go through pretty frozen meat. I mean, you don't want it to be frozen solid. You want it to have a good firmness to it. So when you squeeze it, you get some response from it, but you don't want it frozen all the way through. I have ground on this with fully frozen product. It'll work. There are two things that you're going to run into. One, it has a tendency to almost chip the beef more than grind it. No problem with that when you're doing your first grind. That doesn't matter. Two, if you put full frozen product down here and you stop the grinder while it's still got product, a good amount of product in the throat, you can jam it. It's not really that big a deal, but just something to be aware of. Out of all the times I've done it, I've only jammed this grinder once, and that was with fully frozen product. Simply take the head off, pull the auger, and you're good to go again. So I do have a foot pedal for my grinder, but I have a hard time keeping my foot down on it, oddly enough. My foot has a tendency to come up off it. It feels weird on my calves. Just, it's a strange feeling, and I'm not that great at it. What I really like using that for is when I hook this up to the 50-pound meat mixer. When you do that and you're ready to dump the tub in there, you can pull the side pin, tilt it forward, have it a poly pan or even a meat lug right next to it. You hold that down, turn it back on, and the paddles in there will push out the vast majority of the meat right into whatever you're using to hold or transport the meat. If you don't hold it, the force of that paddle moving through that meat is gonna push it right back up to vertical again though, so you gotta hold it down. And it's easier to do if you just have to step on it real quick. So that's, in the end, what I use a foot pedal for more than anything else. All right, so I don't know if I'll watch it back later, but I believe they were both exactly 336. I'm gonna blame that mostly on the backup I got during the second grind. We'll at some point have to do a video showing you guys a top-down view of exactly what I'm talking about when I say a backup. The throat leads down into the chamber. The auger spins through here, pushing the meat down towards the blade and the plate. Occasionally, your meat will actually get trapped up here, and that auger, all it does as it goes through is push it back up. So you have to have a stomper to push it down and force the auger to grab it. Once it grabs it, it's fine. But I've said it a million times, the best way to do it is just add small little bits at a time. You'll get the best and fastest grind on your second grind. Yeah, Anthony, we love the Victorinox stuff. I have everything of them up here. That's the knives a lot of the commercial processor use. They're fairly reasonably expensive. They're incredibly well made. They hold an edge well, and you can sharpen them a ton of times. The problem right now is stock. We had a meeting with Brett the other day. We were going through some inventory system that we used. And for seasoning and a couple other things, our stock percentage, meaning the number of times we were able to fill the order when it was ordered on seasoning, is like 99%. Very, very rarely are we out of stock on something from Excalibur. With equipment, it was quite a bit lower than that. Equipment's incredibly hard to get, and that probably is going to continue for a while. We've been out of stuffers for a while. We absolutely should have already had that shipment. It's just things are taking longer to get here now. There's problems shipping. There's supply chain problems. For this busy season, we have planned very well. We will have as much stock as we're able to. We're even building an exterior, huge, you can't call it a shed, a very large garage that we're going to use to store even more products in. But it's a challenge. I mean, everybody is going through the same thing. Real world test would be the 25. Then you can see what happens when the grinder plates and knives heat up. Yep, that's true. A 5-pound batch just seemed easiest. I just ran out and grabbed the pork butt this morning, boned it out, and then froze half of it. So actually, I think they were 4.5 pounds each. Yeah. So, would you grind meat with the seasoning or mix later? So that's a very good question. There's a couple of reasons that I recommend adding it later. First is if you're doing a bratwurst, fresh sausage, Italian, anything like that, as soon as you add salt to the product, you're going to start solubilizing those proteins, and the proteins are going to start extracting. That's going to make your meat real sticky, and for like a snack stick or something, that's exactly what we want to do. But for a fresh sausage, we want that chunky, clear, separate particles between fat and lean, and it will start becoming sticky and getting your proteins extracted, which is what you get with like a snack stick or a summer sausage. Another reason that I don't do it is this right here. I'm very rarely able to go right from grinding to cleaning the grinder. It is so much harder to clean a grinder if you've added seasoning to it already and you let it sit for any amount of time. Makes it a lot harder. So I just don't do it. But if you were making a snack stick, I mean, lots of people do. A lot of people do. I would definitely recommend that you wait till after your first grind for it, though. Doing it while the meat is whole chunks, that's going to make things more difficult. So in between your first and second grind, that's when a lot of people add the seasoning. Papa Sup says, I like that grinder better than the 22 Butcher series. Yes. So we're very pleased with this. We're toying around with the idea of bringing in the equivalent of a Butcher series, a slight step down. It would still work well. We had some people test one. But the difference between the cost just wasn't there. We're gonna keep trying to make improvements, and once we get our volume up to a reasonable level, then we might bring in a second model. But for right now, this is what we're going with. All right, now for anyone who, let me get this out of the way a little bit. All right, for anyone who's on Meatgistics a lot, we started something last month where we did a post asking you guys for your best meat hacks on specific problems, something, that we all run into or that we all do. Last month, it was for vacuum sealing. So there were tons of good submissions, but we did go through, Austin, myself, and Patrick, and we pulled two winners. One was for a chamberless machine, and one was for a chambered machine. Glenn and CW207, their suggestions were one, which is an old meat hack of mine, for a chamberless machine. Take paper towels and put them inside that little mini chamber in there. That way, if any water gets sucked up into that chamber, it's not going to go down into the pump, or you have a much better chance of it not going down into the pump, and it's going to get caught up by that towel. The biggest problem with chamberless machines, or the biggest reason they fail, is because moisture's going to get up in there. There's just not a way to prevent that all the time. And then it gets down into that pump because there's got to be a hole in there for it to pull the air out of. And I mean, water and electronics don't mix very well. And then for, I think it was C-Dub, I might have these backwards. He was talking about adding the filler plates, but adding them to reduce the amount of time it takes to get that vacuum down to a really low level. The less, cubic feet of air or whatever is in there, the easier it's going to be for that pump. So it's going to speed it, and it's going to make it easier on your pump. Chef, I think, mentioned the filler plate, but his was to keep it level. It just seemed a little bit more hacky to us to put it in there for, reducing the volume, making it easier on your pump. Now, for this month, and I have the post already. I'm just about to hit submit, but this time we're asking you for meat hacks, whatever you do when you have a long smoke cycle coming up. And when I say smoke cycle, cook cycle. So if we're doing a pork butt, if we're doing 4-inch thick bologna, if we're doing brisket, something like that, like what are some hacks that you guys use to help you get through that better, faster? And I'm trying to hit submit. There we go. All right. So I just submitted that. You guys can start your entries on that. I mentioned it before. I did create a little badge, and we'll go ahead and award that to the people who've won. They can then display that if they choose to, so everyone else knows that they are an award winner. I did make it blue on purpose. I toyed around with making the writing orange, but it just didn't look right. All right, I've got somewhat of a coupon for you guys. You can use BBQ13 now until Monday the 17th, and you can get a free, they're on sale right now, so it'll take $3.99 off of the Smokehouse Barbecue Excalibur Shaker. This is the no MSG version. Excellent all-purpose. I've made pulled pork with this. I've done brisket with it. All sorts of different barbecue items, and it does a really good job. Something like this is a good way to get some of a smoke flavor if you're not cooking in a smoker. So if you rub this, you rub a pork butt or something like this, and you do it on your grill, you're going to get some of that smoke flavor. There's nothing out there really that's going to replace actual smoke. I don't think liquid smoke does it, whether it's atomized or just marinated in it. I don't think it really recreates it, but it's going to give you something. So now until Monday, orders of over $25, use coupon code BBQ13. It'll get you, you have to add it to your cart, but it'll take the cost of this shaker off. Can only be used one time per customer. So everyone can use it, but you can only use it one time. And for a little, it's not really a recipe, but I've been using this duck fat like absolute crazy recently. I love spraying it on, I loved it on the steak. It's a great way to easily get seasonings to adhere to almost anything. And to show that, we're going to take some duck fat, spray it on these almonds. And I did this earlier today with the Chipotle Lime Sweet Rub from Excalibur, their new one, and oh, that was ridiculously good. I chomped through those things. I love that seasoning. It's really quickly climbing my list. If it's not already number 2, nothing's ever going to knock out Walton's Ultimate Steak and Roast Rub. That's my favorite seasoning, but that Chipotle Lime is seriously good. So we just spray the duck fat, pour in a little bit of seasoning. I always take too big of bites. I need to learn to take smaller bites. And anything with barbecue is going to have a sugary taste to it, a sweet taste to it. But this also has natural hickory powder in it. So that kind of balances a little bit. These, if you liked the old Lay's barbecue potato chips, you will love this shaker. Absolutely recreates that flavor. That's great. I love it. So you can get one for free now, from now until the 17th with coupon code barbecue13. All right, so I'm done setting up new products on the current website, except for this one. I had to set this up because I got a chance to use it today, and it is awesome. This is the Camp Chef 13-inch square, because it's not square, Dutch oven. It is cast iron, comes pre-seasoned, does an amazing job, and I just thought this was genius. It's got grills on the underside, or ridges on the underside of the lid. So you can get nice grill marks or use just the bottom of it to sear a steak. I'm waiting for someone to come running through that door because late last week I was choking in here and punching myself as hard as I could in my diaphragm to try and like spit it up. I could still get air, so it wasn't freaking out too bad, but I took a big drink of water to try to clear it. I had unchewed sausage stuck in my throat. Took a drink of water and it all backed up, and that freaked me out. So I started like coughing. Eventually I was able to kind of shoot it back up into my mouth. I still chewed it and swallowed it though, because it was really good sausage. But I am going to post a link to that because I don't think you're going to be able to find it still. It takes a while for products to populate where you can actually search by either item number or name. God, on waltonsinc.com. So I'm going to find that link and I will post it down in the chat. Nope, don't do it there. That's the chat. And it, God, I still have a piece of that all stuck in my throat. All right, so that is a link directly to it. Hopefully that got it. But it's $77.99. It's square Dutch oven, makes it perfect for roasts, casseroles, ribs, breads. I've never tried to do a bread in anything but a bread maker. Oh, no, that's not true. Joe Hell once sent me some sourdough stuff, and I totally ruined that. I'm just not a baker. Not very good at it. It's got an 8-quart capacity. Like I said, it's got these ridges on the underside of the lid. It even has this cool little notch right here and the matching one on the base of the unit to allow you to easily put in a probe thermometer. So even if it has a cord, it's not going to crimp that cord. It's got a little tiny space to make it out. Sorry, that is super annoying. Okay, now, what should we give to Glenn and C-Dub? Don't make it ridiculously big. Small little reward, something along the lines of, I was thinking the Walton's Rapid or Walton's Quick patty maker. Seems pretty good idea to me. In my never-ending quest to find a way to convert that into a slider maker, I bought this. It is a egg, a fried egg holder. So you put that in your cast iron pan, you crack your egg in that, and it keeps it nice and round. My thought process was you could just slide that in, move it, and it would work. But no. A, it's too thick. And B, when you do manage to get it in there, when you pull it out, it just falls out. I've also tried PVC piping, getting that down. I even tried like sanding off the edges of that to get it to go in. I don't think there's a good way to do it. God, that's annoying. I'm sorry, guys. All right. So, what should we give them? Something like that. I saw someone mention the Amazing Tube Smoker. I love that thing. Before I had a pellet smoker, I would use that on my grill a lot. I don't really want to go too much higher in cost than something like the Walton's Rapid Patty Maker. But any ideas you guys have, let me know. All right, so we've done that. Featured product. Meat hack, which backfired spectacularly. So I'm sure I'll hear of that from Austin. Yeah, Dawn says used Paws Black Bull marinade last week on brisket. That is my favorite thing to use on brisket. I had the good luck or whatever. I made a whole batch of brisket for Walton's event we were doing here. And Don Walton after pulled me aside and said that was the best brisket he's ever had. So I crow about that quite often. The Paws Black Bull, the injectable or just the regular marinade. They taste very similar to me, but I like the injectable more because I can get more of it into a seasoning. I did a venison backstrap with it a couple of days ago. I didn't put anything on the outside, no rub, no nothing, just injected it with that, and oh, it was so good. John, I could do one of those knives, but you are right. I need a beer. Hold on. I could do one of those knives, but they're so hard to get right now. Whew. So I assume we're talking about the butcher's knife that I love. Victorinox has been really behind on orders, so don't know if that's something we're going to be able to do. If that clears up, maybe that'll be future things. We could give them an option, like let them choose between Meatgistics leather apron, syringe injector, and some seasonings, like the syringe injector and some seasonings together. That might work. Sorry, guys, I can feel it still down there in the base of my throat. That is super annoying. So is the dry rub, you used it just as a rub? Like, so you didn't add any water to it? We were talking about doing that with one of these, but it gets so clumpy. Like it does. It's designed to be dissolved in some sort of liquid, so they don't worry as much about it clumping up because it doesn't matter. It's going to be dissolved. We were talking about using it as a dry rub, but didn't because of that. Now I'm wishing I had, because I love that flavor. The best way I ever heard it described was by our old customer service manager, and she said it just makes meat taste more like meat. And it's perfect. It brings out the umami flavor of beef. It increases it certainly in venison. I've used it in chicken, turkey, all sorts of pork, all sorts of beef, and it has literally never disappointed me. Now, I've been told by a few people, one of them who works here, that I am overly fanboy of that Paws Black Bull, that it's good, but not as good as I make it out to be. Other than him and I think one other person, I've never had anyone come back saying that it wasn't, that I had oversold it. So yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Butane torch? Like, do we have a butane torch? Oh, we do. We have that. Right? Or am I just thinking of the one that I see in our service department all the time? Yeah. No, we don't sell a butane torch. It'd be fun to have one, but I don't know that would be something they'd want to let me play around with a lot. I have a little bit of firebug in me. Not terrible, but just a little bit. So butane torch is probably not the best thing to leave around me. All right, so it was clumpy, but rubbed and put in a bag overnight, and it became a marinade with the juices. Oh, that sounds awesome. So I can't talk too much about this, but we are planning a kind of a collaboration with another conservation group, and we are going to put out a seasoning shakers, and Paws Black Bull is going to be the basis for one of those. We're going to change it slightly, but that makes me feel really happy that it's already working well as a rub. Cool. Yep, absolutely. The blender we have over here has broken up some seasoning in the past when it gets clumpy like that. The best thing I can say is if you store a seasoning that's going to clump like that has a lot of molasses, if you put it in your freezer, that will definitely help. I don't know why, because in my mind, there is a lot of moisture in the freezer, but apparently it does work. But stone pestle, that works really well. And any type of blender, food processor, something like that will reduce it down to very, very small particle size in no time. Oh. That beer did help. So thank you, John. That was a good tip. All right. So I really don't have anything else. I'll chill and chat and talk until everybody's gone if you want. Just try and talk about some things that we have coming up. Obviously, we have the website coming on hopefully the 18th. So Austin and I will be here for a live stream, sit through here, try to work out any issues that arrive. Part of the new live stream, part of the new website isn't going to be available right away, but I think it's the thing that I'm most excited for. Right now, if you go to waltonsinc.com and you hit seasonings, you have sausage seasonings, jerky seasonings, snack stick seasonings, all of those. But when you click on that actual header, like snack stick seasonings, all it does is list all of the snack stick seasonings. Doesn't have anything else to do with snack sticks. Now that makes sense because it's under the seasonings header, but we're going to have a page that'll be snack sticks. So it's going to list every snack stick seasoning. It's going to have all of the additives you might use for snack sticks, all of the cheeses, cheese is kind of an additive, all the casings that you would use for a snack stick, equipment you would use for a snack stick. So if you wanted to just start making snack sticks from scratch, you have one page you can go to and get everything you need. The one thing that people have asked for a long time are kits, like, have a sausage making kit, have a jerky making kit. The problem with that is the way we do stock, everything has its own SKU. To then make a kit, we have to take all those SKUs, combine them to a new SKU, and then they're reserved for, like, they can't be sold outside of that. So that creates problems, would create problems with orders. If a commercial customer needed, that product and it was the last few were tied up in a kit, that wouldn't be a terribly good thing. Because while we continue to grow our retail business, which is you guys, we are still, I think, like 65, maybe even more, percent commercial. Those are your local meat lockers, your local grocery stores, the somewhat larger meat processors. The people who provide you with your meat, they're our customers too. I focus more on the retail market, but have to be reasonable and understand that a larger portion of the business is the commercial side. So, where'd I go? Have you ever tried OBQ's Gator Breath seasoning out of Texas? I haven't, but I'm almost positive our store manager, our retail store manager, was just asking me about that. Because that name Gator Breath sounds super familiar. And I know he asked me something if I'd ever had a seasoning earlier this week. Obviously, I'll see him tomorrow. And then he and I have an event in Wichita this weekend There's a guy who everybody knows him in this area. He does so much for conservation. His name's Big Al. He works at Davis Moore car dealership, and they're doing a big birthday bash for him. Tons of pheasants forever. I'm sure Ducks Unlimited will be there. Pass It On Outdoor Mentors, who we do a lot with, will be there. So they're doing like a birthday bash for him, and then there's going to be tons of raffles, and we're bringing some samples of 2 different types of sausage, and we're going to have a really pretty awesome thing to raffle off. And then we're donating all the proceeds from our raffle to Pass It On. So it's going to be a 32 Walton's grinder, a 50-pound mixer, and a 7-pound single speed stuffer, because that's all we have left in stock. But if you're in the area, it's going to be Saturday. I think it starts at 7. I'm pretty sure it starts at 7. But look up Big Al's birthday bash. And he is, for anyone who knows him, he is quite the character. Spent last week with him, and he's a really good guy. Oh, that's a good point. Bob Steelick saying, tell everyone about Tech's post with all the product reviews. Tech's was nice. So Tech77 is somebody who's on Meatgistics a lot. He helps a ton of people out. And one of the things that he recently posted was he went through and did like his top X number of seasonings for this. And it's really, really in-depth post that absolutely will help out a new, any new processor, anyone who's new to making sausage, making jerky, anything like that. I'm having trouble finding it right now, though. I want to find it and post it. Search review, and it's just my year in review posts. But I hope we do a good enough job letting not only Tex, but all you guys, everyone who's been with us for a long time. I was talking to Papa Sop the other day, and we've all been chatting like this for years. It's an incredibly weird thing to me that something as workaday or whatever as meat processing has created this incredibly close-knit group of people who all have each other's backs. I mean, you guys are taking Meatgistics and making it way more than it was ever intended to be in the beginning, and we think that's awesome. We got lucky early on. Not even lucky. Early on, we did, I think, a really good job of making it a positive community. I can only think of one person that we ever had to talk to outside of, a public post saying, hey, don't say that. Everyone else is friendly, tries their best to be helpful and polite. I mean, how often are people polite on the internet nowadays? Meatgistics, it happens all the time. People aren't mean. So it's a really good community. We're really happy with it, really proud of it. And we thank you guys for that. Yep, so Barbecue 13. Yeah, so Travis says, would kits help get more of a base on the retail side? Though they very well could be, but this thing we're planning on doing on the new Waltons should be the best of both worlds. Because my argument against kits was always that part of what people like about Waltons Inc. is that we have, 30 different snack stick seasonings, 15 jerky, whatever it is. That customization. And a standard kit takes that away. But by doing it all on one page, like you just drop down, select, move to the next column, drop down, select. Having that customization but all on one page should be the best of both worlds. I hope, at least. I hope. Oh, yeah, hopefully you guys could see that post I just made. I try removing the HT. YouTube's been weird recently. Sometimes it's showing the links that we send. Sometimes it's not. If you go to, if you don't see the 2 posts I just made, if you go to Meatgistics and search Tech's top picks, should come right up. Yeah. So I don't want to get too much into this. We're already pretty much at the end, but I don't know if you guys have been looking at your grocery bills, but I buy the same thing every week in, week out. My grocery bill is 70% higher than it was last year. Like, I'm used to walking out of the grocery store with just about $100, and that gets me and my wife through for a week. It's been like 170, 180 recently, and I'm really not buying anything new, at least that I can tell. So now is a good time to get into making stuff at your home, and hopefully we're going to have vacuum sealers in soon. I know we're not the only ones who are having trouble getting them, but when they do come in, I'm expecting those to sell fairly quickly, because ability to vac seal something, throw it in your deep freeze for, use in a couple of years is incredibly useful. So. Thanks, John. I mean, that's to some degree us, but it's really not driven by us anymore. It's driven by the users. So cool. All right, I'm done. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back here, same place, waltonsinc.com/live, or through Meatgistics, and just click the live stream button, either on the 18th or the 19th with Austin, to hopefully, please, launch the new waltonsinc.com. I do not want it to get pushed back again. I was joking around with Austin last week. I think in February we did a podcast where I said, if we're still working on this in 2 weeks, I'm going to be furious. And here we are, 3 months later. Hey, that's life. See you guys.